Hi guys, and welcome back to The Big Shift. Thanks to all you guys out there who have been watching the content, and to all my loyal subscribers, really thank you. I hope you guys are okay out there today. I want to introduce our new playlist, which is going to be a true crime series with me, Stephen Gillen. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to go over a lot of iconic things that certainly happened to me throughout my journey. There's been a lot of stuff in the press all the time, a lot of stories, but there's a lot of exclusive stories that are certainly not out there. We're going to go over some of them. And just as importantly, we're also going to go over of what I actually learned from these experiences in each segment. Today we're going to talk about the time that I met Britain's most dangerous prisoner, Charlie Bronson. Now, there's a lot about Charlie in the press constantly as Britain's most dangerous prisoner. We're going to go there, guys, and I'm going to tell you the first time I actually met Charlie, which was just on the back of another iconic escape by the IRA from Brixton prison back in them days. But hey, before we get there, I want to thank everyone who has been buying the Monkey Puzzle Tree book. We've got more books in there, guys, and I do sign them all. There's been times I've been in there, guys, signing books all day. It's a real privilege for me. We get so many messages from people all over the world who are inspired and get something from the work that we do, especially the Monkey Puzzle Tree. I'd like to thank all you guys. And look, anyone who wants a copy now, there are more in stock now. Go into the website. We'll be very happy to get the team to send you a copy, guys, all right? So, the first time I met Charlie Bronson. Who is Charlie Bronson? Charlie Bronson, the press have made many things about Charlie, saying he's Britain's most dangerous prisoner. You know, he's a man he's constantly violent, constantly disruptive. You know, he takes people hostage. All of these things have been true at some point in Charlie's journey through the prison system. But there's other sides to Charlie as well, more warm, wonderful sides. But I'll go right into that now, guys. But first, I want to take you back to the early 90s. I just received my sentence for armed robbery. I was a Cat A, and I was sent to Brixton Special Security Unit. Now, Brixton Special Security Unit in them days was the most secure place in the UK prison system at that time. Belmarsh, which was to be built after, wasn't there then. This was a 3-story place that was a prison within a prison, guys. Sheeted off, completely covered, had its own fence and everything around it, and was actually in the middle of Brixton Prison. You had 3 landings in there, and you had sliding doors that was in a special security corridor that had gates on either end. So the doors would be airlock, and you would go into the middle and you'd go in. Now, for Cat A's, certainly, and most people entering and leaving that wing, they had what was called a sterile area, where you would go, you'd be searched as a Cat A, they'd wand you down, they'd have something that was called sterile clothing. So they would have clothing that had already been searched and wanded and all that, and you would change. Then you would go onto the wing. They had the hot plate where you'd get food just there at the bottom. There was cells there. On the 2s, they had a lot of really bad cases. We would never see them, right? There was people on protection and really bad cases, so they kept them on the 2s. We was on the 3s on the very top. You know, and you're talking only a small little landing with cells on either side. You know, we had a pool table there in the middle, there was a TV in the middle, phones there and that kind of stuff. Even them cells there, guys, you locked the door, but there was an interlocking system there that was on the side of the door. So when all the doors in the unit was locked, there was another locking system that locked everything again. So it was centrally locked twice. I'd never seen that anywhere before in a prison. Even the windows in the cells was internally covered by wire that was shatterproof, vibration proof. Even if you moved them, stuff like that. It was very, very heavy security, with some of the most dangerous prisoners in the UK at that time. Now, when I was there was a lot of guys there. I'll just mention two of them. There was probably about 10 of us on the unit at that time there. Two of the guys there were Nesson Quinlivan and Piers Macaulay. They was two IRA guys who had been arrested for IRA activity. They was down as terrorists and for being part of a active service unit on the British mainland. I can always remember about them two guys. They was really good guys. They was quiet. They kind of kept to themselves. Nesson had an unbelievable wicked sense of humour, and he used to sing. I always remember his voice, where he used to sing some old Irish ballads and some other songs, right? You have to remember, guys, as well, that when you're incarcerated in a place like that, you really have to get on with people. These are your neighbours. You know, we're all under intense scrutiny and pressure, and you have to get on with people. And you find a lot. It can be a very loaded place. Violence can erupt at any minute. Usually, in my experience, when it did, it was very, very explosive, right? So all the kind of people there, they really made an effort to get on, okay? So I was in my cell one day, this is back in the early 90s, and I suddenly heard a helicopter over the unit. Now, I looked out the window, I thought, this is weird, right? Because I knew that airspace, especially above the unit, was unauthorised, right? So I thought, that's very strange. And then I heard the shots. And I actually watched out the window, and I see all the activity. I see all the officers run. What had happened is Nesson Quinlivan and Piers had gone to the church, which was one of the only times that you would be taken out of the actual SSU. They'd produced a gun in the church, they'd put it to an officer's head. Now, this is in the centre of the prison, right? And they'd marched this officer. Now, of course, straight away the alarm bells have gone. So officers have come from all over the prison. And they marched this officer. They went through 12 gates with loads of prison officers behind them. So they was keeping them back with a firearm. They let a few shots go. The prison officers was following them. They had this one prison officer, gun to his head, and they went back and back and back. They even went through the high security corridor where the unit was, because they had to go through them two sets of gates to go through the prison over to the end of the prison where the dog kennels were. You know, they obviously knew what they was doing that day, and they obviously had plans of the prison and all that. None of us knew anything about this in the unit, of course, right? Even as they passed the high security unit and the airlock doors going down that corridor, the officers tried to move on them, the other officers. So they even let shots go within that corridor, which are still there today. I don't know if they're there now, but back years ago, guys, you know, when I kind of went back there after, the bullet holes were still in the ceiling there, right, in the arch ceiling. So they went all the way through that corridor, and they went through 12 sets of gates, keeping the officers all the way back until they got to the part of the prison where the dog kennels were. One of them got up in the dog kennel, got onto the top of the wall from there. The wall was lower there. He threw the gun up to him. You know, he put the gun back on all the officers. His friend got up, they got over the wall, and they escaped into Brixton Hill, guys. Now, this was an iconic escape. One of the most iconic escapes I ever saw, certainly. And they wasn't arrested. You know, one was killed years later, machine gun in a phone box in Southern Ireland, and Piers Macaulay, I believe, he's still out there somewhere, Piers. But I say this story because what happened when this went down, guys, was for us in the unit upstairs, there was big activity, right? All we heard was everyone was locked down. And then in that afternoon, I just saw people coming on the unit, loads of officers, and they took everyone, and everyone was shipped out. They come round, they'd done the dinner by the door, and after that, Cat A vans come, guys, and they just took the guys, and everyone went. They come for me. I was taken to Wandsworth. Wandsworth Prison had another unit there that was termed as a high security unit, guys. And I kind of went there, and and I looked around. I said, "This is nothing like Brixton is, right?" That was proper high security. This was more a unit. There was 40 people on there on different landings. It was more of a normal prison landing, but just smaller and a bit more contained. So I was there. I may have been there 2 weeks. Now, there was a lot of work that was going on in the prison in them days. I was still on remand as well. I had to go up to the Old Bailey, I have to say, at this point, because actually in Brixton I was on remand for the Old Bailey for the armed robberies and the shooting at police that I was had to go on trial for, and all the other offences with my co-defendants, right? So they put me there. Now I was getting visits from my solicitor because I was preparing my defence. On this certain day, it was really strange, guys, because you get to know things in prison. You have a sixth sense, and on this day, the wing was strangely silent. Straight away, I thought, that's strange, that's weird. There's no sounds out there. No one's been let out. None of the orderlies. There's no activity. And I thought, that's strange, because I've got a solicitor's visit. Forget what time it was, guys, but anyway, then I heard it, as you do in prison. I heard a big rush of boots, the keys, officers coming. So they come for me, they opened the door, and I come out. There must have been 8 officers, guys. There was POs there. And there was a funny energy about these guys. I could tell straight away, this is strange. Why is there so many? There was a funny air about them. Anyway, I had my debts in my hand, guys, right? Because I'm going down to see my solicitor. There was the debts. There was all kinds of stuff there, photographs, observation stuff. They was like that, these debts. So I'm carrying them. They search me, right? They walk me down the wing. They take me down in Wandsworth Prison. It was seen as a flagship back in the day for those of you guys who may have been there, or other people around the world who's watching, who want to get an idea of what Wandsworth Prison was like then. It's a flagship, which means it's a central prison of strength in the UK penal system. And it was built like a star. You had the middle bit, and then you had wings that come off it all the way around. So they marched me down to where the circle was. And I'm going into, I've got to go down into the visits hall. So I constantly, I go into the first bit where you get searched and all that stuff to go into the visits, and there is loads of officers there, guys. I mean, it is wall to wall with them. There must be 15. 8 have took me down as well, don't forget. So I'm completely surrounded here. A PO, which is a senior officer, he comes forward, he says, "Gillen, we want to search your debts under rule blah, blah, blah." Now look, I'm going to trial. I was going not guilty. I had a lot of defence stuff and different stuff in there. Anyone would tell you who's been up on trial with their life at stake and so much at stake in these kind of circumstances would tell you that they have to really protect what their strategy is going to be at trial. So I said, "Hey guys, you're not searching my debts." Anyway, it goes off. Debts go up in the air. I'm fighting with them, all of that stuff. I'm grappling with these guys. They all pile on top of me. They jump on top of me. They pull me down to the floor. They do CNR, which is what they call it then, controlling restraint, my hands, my arms and all that. So they're giving me a bit of a hiding, right? Now they dragged me down to what then was E1, which was the block in Wandsworth then, segregation. This place was notorious in them days. And you had a stairs down, guys, where officers were notorious for throwing people down these stairs, right? Down I went down these stairs. They all jumped on me at the bottom, dragged me into the strip cell, stripped me naked, bending me up, all that stuff, few digs, and they run out. This is what they do. They pin you down. They go ready, and then they all run out and they close the door. So you're there, I'm naked. So I go into the cell, guys, and then I hear the voice, "Who's that?" So I'm thinking, who's that? You know, and I'm thinking, what's going on here anyway? It's Charlie. "Who's that?" I said. "I'm Charlie, mate. Who are you?" Now, this was the first time that I'd met Charlie. I've got to be honest, at that time, I hadn't even heard of Charlie Bronson. I hadn't even started my long-term sentence. We got talking anyway, we got talking, and he was telling me about why he was down there, how long he'd been away, who he was, watch out for these guys down here and all that. Are you all right? And all that. This was the first time I met Charlie Bronson. And I was very happy to meet him. Charlie was always a source of strength in them times, especially when I was going through it. Years later, I would be in many prisons with Charlie under really extreme circumstances, other units. Charlie would always be a source of strength. Charlie has wonderful ways about him, but I have to say about Charlie that the way he has been treated all these years is wrong. I can't think of any other prison in the UK penal system that has been treated like that. Like a dog, fed like a dog, hit like a dog in the corner, and not given chances to really reform as everyone else seems to get chances to in the system. He's constantly put in the cages up in Wakefield and other units where you don't see the light of day, frankly. You're just banged up all the time. I don't know of any other prisoner, apart from maybe Maudsley, who was the cannibal, who killed 3 other inmates in prison, who was banged up for so long and never see the light of day. Charlie had already done years and years in segregation. By that point, he already had a big name. But the thing about Charlie is the press has really fueled this in many ways, and they make up a lot of stuff, and he's been positioned as some of these things, but many of these things he's positioned for, he hasn't done. And of course, there's a lot of content out there that is misleading and wrong. I always found Charlie to be a gentleman. I always found him to be an unbelievably funny storyteller. I remember I was in Full Sutton Dispersal in the block with him. We talked for hours in the night. He told me all his stories about Broadmoor guys, unbelievable stories. Then after in Hull we was there, and then also in the close supervision unit in Wood Hill years later, which was an unbelievably oppressive place. So I'll go back a little bit, guys, to that time in Wandsworth when I first met him. Anyway, I'm naked in the cell. I don't know why I'm down there, and of course I hear the boots coming again. So they open the door, there's a pack of them, the governor's there, he pokes his head out. "We want to see you, Gillen," down there in the adjudication room. So I'm standing over this kind of tent material blanket, guys, which is the only thing you have in the strip cells, right? And it's, and I'm naked. And these kind of shorts that they give you, which is a cream kind of tent material kind of shorts as well that you put on. So anyway, they walk me down. I go into the room and I'm sitting there. And it's like a long table with a tea at the end. So I've got officers either side of me, officers standing up, officers all around the wall, watching me, ready to pants if I move. I'm sitting at the head of this table here, guys, in the blanket, and I'm looking right down, and there's a governor, there's another governor, and there's a senior PO sitting here. So I'm looking at the side of the desk where they are, and there's this letter or something there, right? Anyway, the governor says, "Gillen, you was taken down here. You was asked to, we asked to search your depths under rule, blah, 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 or whatever." And then his hand went to this letter, guys. And he went, in the depositions, "We found this." And his hand was shaking. Now, look, I'd never, I don't know what this letter was or whatever or anything. I didn't get to see this letter. Basically, he then said to me, "Once you start this, stuff, Gillen. You will see where you will end up. Take him out, he said. So anyway, I didn't say anything. I said, I want to see my solicitor. He said, you will not be seeing that solicitor or any solicitor in this establishment as far as I'm concerned. Take him out. So, you know, they come, they take me, guys. I'm back in the cell. But it transpires that they'd had intelligence that I was trying to smuggle a gun in to escape. So, you know, I heard all different versions of this. The solicitor was bringing it in. It was going to be smuggled in a system, and other people was going to bring it to the wing for reception. All of this stuff is fanciful. But anyway, this is a reason why they took me off the wing after coming from Brixton to what transpired there with the escape. And this is the first time that I met Charlie Bronson, guys. Now look, there's been loads of guys out there, you know, you've been asking different questions, asking me about different content, about different people and all that. So, you know, this playlist that we're doing is in response to all that. But what I'm going to do at the end of all of this stuff, guys, always is say, what did I learn by these experiences? Well, the first thing I learned was be careful of the people around you in your circle, right, obviously, because their actions can and often do affect your life and your progress and what's happening with you as you go forward. Sometimes this is really out of your hands, right? You know, I also learned that anything was liable to happen at any time. And I learned that within the institution of the UK penal system, I was going to get a rough deal. I knew that I was going to be dug out. I knew that I had to be really, really mindful. And I knew that I had to measure everything I said and done. But I knew it was going to be a long haul, guys. And I knew it was going to be hard. And that was a big lesson for me. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this has been really good for you, and I look forward to the next segment and some more explosive stories with Stephen Gillen on his True Crime series. Make sure to subscribe, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help and support you on your own personal journey of success.